Let me introduce you to four people. Ryan is 28 years old. Jennifer is 37. Michael is 48. And Susan is 58. At first glance, they seem completely different. Different ages, different careers, different life experiences. But all four are asking the exact same question. Am I ahead? Am I behind? Am I saving enough? And perhaps the most important question of all, am I building the future I actually want? Jennifer wonders whether she should already have more invested. She has worked hard for years. She's earned promotions, she's increased her income, yet sometimes she still feels like she's falling behind. Michael is asking a different version of the same question. Retirement is no longer some distant idea. It's becoming real. And that reality makes him wonder whether the decisions he made 20 years ago were enough. Susan looks back and realizes how quickly time passed. One moment she was building her career. The next, retirement was right around the corner. And now she understands something most younger people don't. Time moves faster than you think. Unfortunately, social media has made this question much harder to answer. Every day, we're shown extraordinary success stories. People buying luxury cars at 22, millionaires before 30, financial freedom before 40. We see the vacations, the exotic beaches, the expensive lifestyles, the perfectly curated success stories. What we rarely see is the full picture behind them. Ryan scrolls through his phone and immediately feels behind. Compared to these people, his savings seem small. His progress feels slow. His life looks ordinary. But that's exactly the problem. Most of those people are exceptions, not benchmarks. Comparing yourself to a crypto millionaire, a celebrity entrepreneur, or an influencer is like comparing your local basketball team to an NBA champion. It simply isn't a fair comparison. Instead, compare yourself to ordinary people. People with normal jobs, normal salaries, normal challenges. Because that's where realistic financial planning actually begins. So let's start with age 30. This is where many people expect to have everything figured out. The career, the relationship, the house, the finances. But reality usually looks very different. Your 20s are rarely about becoming wealthy. They're about building the foundation. You're learning skills, making mistakes, changing jobs, paying bills, and figuring out how adulthood actually works. That's why financial experts often suggest a simple benchmark. By age 30, a reasonable goal is to have investments and savings equal to roughly 1 year's worth of income. Not 10 times your income, not financial freedom, just 1 year. If you earn $50,000 per year, that means aiming for around $50,000 invested and saved. If you earn $70,000, the target becomes $70,000. It's not perfect, but it gives you a useful reference point. And before you panic, remember that benchmarks are not grades. They're guideposts. Being slightly ahead doesn't guarantee success, and being slightly behind doesn't guarantee failure. What matters most is the direction you're moving. The challenge is that your 20s are often the most expensive decade of your life. You're trying to build a career, build a social life, and build financial stability, all at the same time. That's a lot to ask from someone who's only beginning their journey. Student loans, credit card debt, car payments, rent, utilities, insurance. For many people, it feels like every dollar already has a destination before it even reaches their bank account. This is why Ryan spends so much time looking at numbers. Not because he's obsessed with money, but because he's trying to make progress. Every paycheck forces a decision. Spend now or build later? When you're young, retirement feels incredibly far away. It's easy to think you'll worry about it later. After all, 40 years sounds like forever. But that's exactly what makes this stage so important. The truth is that time is doing something invisible in the background. Every year that passes gives your investments another chance to grow. And over long periods of time, that growth starts to accelerate. Imagine two people. Both want financial freedom. Both earn similar incomes. Both have the same opportunities. Yet one simple decision creates dramatically different outcomes. The first person starts investing at 22. Not huge amounts, not life-changing amounts, just small, consistent contributions every month. The second person waits. At first, there appears to be almost no difference. In fact, if you looked at their accounts after a year or two, you might barely notice anything at all. That's why so many people quit too early. We live in a world that rewards instant gratification. We want results immediately. But wealth doesn't work that way. Real wealth is usually built quietly, slowly, almost invisibly. This is why comparing yourself to millionaire influencers is dangerous. You're comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's highlight reel, and highlight reels rarely tell the whole story. Instead, focus on the people around you, the average investor, the average family, the average worker. Those are the comparisons that actually matter. Because the goal isn't to become the richest person on social media. The goal is to become financially secure, to have choices, to have freedom, and to reduce financial stress. When Ryan graduated college, he didn't have a perfect plan. Most people don't. He simply knew he wanted a better future than the one he would get by doing nothing. Then came the real world. The first apartment, the first job, the first bills, the first financial mistakes. And suddenly, adulthood became much more complicated than it looked. Like millions of young adults, Ryan discovered that building wealth isn't glamorous. Most of the time, it's not exciting at all. It's simply making responsible decisions over and over again. Month after month, Ryan reviewed his paycheck. He tracked expenses. He watched where his money was going. And slowly, he realized something important. Small improvements matter. Every financial future is built on a foundation. Savings, income, investing, financial discipline. These aren't exciting topics, but they're the bricks that support everything else. The stronger the foundation becomes, the easier the future gets. A weak foundation creates constant stress. A strong foundation creates opportunities. That's true for buildings, and it's true for money. Ryan started investing small amounts every month. Nothing dramatic. No risky bets. No get-rich-quick schemes. Just steady contributions into diversified investments. Year after year, the account slowly grew. At first, the growth felt insignificant. Sometimes, it felt like nothing was happening at all. But appearances can be deceiving. Now compare two identical people. One starts investing at 30. The other waits until 40. Both eventually become disciplined investors, but their outcomes are very different. In the beginning, the gap looks tiny, almost meaningless. Most people would barely notice the difference, which is exactly why so many people underestimate the power of time. Fast forward 20 or 30 years. Now, the difference becomes enormous. What started as a small gap eventually turns into a massive wealth advantage. This is the magic of compounding. Money earns returns. Then those returns earn returns. And over time,
growth begins to accelerate faster and faster.
Which brings us to age 40, a stage where many people begin asking a more serious question. Not can I build wealth, but am I building enough? By age 40, the game changes. You're no longer just building a foundation. Now, you're building momentum. The decisions you made in your 20s and 30s are beginning to show real results.
For Jennifer, the last decade has been filled with progress. She's gained experience, improved her skills, taken on more responsibility, and as a result, her income has steadily increased.
At first, a higher income feels amazing. You finally have breathing room. You can afford things that once felt impossible. A better apartment, a better neighborhood, a more comfortable life. Then comes the new car. Maybe not because you need it, but because you've worked hard and feel like you've earned it. And honestly, that's understandable.
Then come the vacations, the upgrades, the nicer restaurants, the larger monthly payments. Little by little, a bigger income creates a bigger lifestyle. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the biggest reasons people with high incomes often struggle to build wealth, because their spending rises just as fast as their earnings. Imagine two people earning exactly the same salary. One spends every raise. The other invests part of every raise. At first, their lives look almost identical. But eventually, the difference becomes massive. Jennifer realized something important. Her retirement account wasn't growing as quickly as she expected. Not because she wasn't earning enough, but because too much money was being consumed by lifestyle upgrades. The solution wasn't complicated. Spend a little less, save a little more. Invest consistently. Repeat. Simple doesn't mean easy, but it works. She automated her investments. Money started moving into her portfolio before she even had a chance to spend it. And suddenly, progress became much easier. Because good financial systems beat good intentions. Now let's talk about age 50. This is where Michael finds himself. And at this stage, retirement starts feeling much more real. For decades, retirement existed somewhere in the future. But now, the calendar tells a different story. The finish line is no longer far away. It's visible. When you're 25, retirement feels almost imaginary. When you're 50, it feels much closer than you'd like to admit. And that's when many people begin seriously evaluating their financial position. Unfortunately, this is also when comparison becomes dangerous again. Michael sees headlines everywhere. People retiring at 40, entrepreneurs selling companies for millions, investors becoming wealthy overnight. One headline says someone retired at 40. Another says someone became a millionaire before 35. And suddenly, Michael starts questioning everything. Should he have done more? Did he make mistakes? Is he behind? But when Michael compares himself to realistic benchmarks instead of headlines, something surprising happens. He's actually doing much better than he thought. Not perfect, but far from failure. This is why comparing yourself to average investors matters. Most successful retirements are not built through extraordinary luck. They're built through ordinary consistency. The people who win financially are rarely the flashiest. They don't chase every trend. They don't jump from opportunity to opportunity. They simply stay committed for decades. Think of wealth like climbing a mountain. Some people search for shortcuts. Others focus on steady progress. The shortcut seekers often fall behind. The steady climbers eventually reach the top.
That's why a common benchmark by age 50 is having roughly 6 times your annual income invested and saved. Not because it's a magical number, but because it suggests you're moving in the right direction toward retirement.
Now let's meet Susan. At 58 years old, she has a perspective that Ryan, Jennifer, and even Michael don't yet have. She's lived through decades of financial decisions. Good ones, bad ones, and everything in between.
When Susan thinks about retirement, she doesn't think about luxury. She thinks about freedom. The freedom to spend time with family. The freedom to travel. The freedom to choose how she spends her days.
That's something many people misunderstand. Money itself isn't usually the goal. What money provides is options. And options create freedom.
Compare Susan's life today with someone still trapped in financial stress. One person works because they have to. The other works because they choose to. That difference is powerful.
Looking back, Susan says something almost everyone says later in life. The years passed faster than expected. Much faster. And that's a lesson younger people rarely appreciate.
She remembers being 30, then 40, then 50. Each decade felt long while she was living it. But looking back now, it feels like it happened in an instant. This is exactly why compounding is so powerful. At first, it looks small, almost insignificant, like a tiny snowball rolling down a hill. Then, the snowball grows and grows and grows. Eventually, it becomes something much larger than anyone expected. That is how wealth is built. Most people think investing is about finding the perfect stock, the perfect strategy, the perfect opportunity. But successful investing is usually much simpler than that. The real secret is consistency. The growth is slow in the beginning, painfully slow. Then, suddenly, it isn't. Imagine putting a few coins into a jar every month. For a while, the jar barely changes. It feels pointless. Then, one day, you look back and realize how much has accumulated. That's exactly what happens with investing. At 30, your portfolio may seem small. At 40, it starts becoming meaningful. At 50, it can become life-changing. This is why benchmarks matter. Not because they're perfect, but because they give you a map, a reference point, a direction.
By 30, a reasonable goal is approximately 1 year of income invested and saved. Not because someone says you must achieve it, but because it suggests a solid foundation. By 40, that goal often increases to around 3 times your annual income. At this point, your investments should be doing more of the heavy lifting.
And by 50, many financial experts suggest aiming for roughly 6 times your annual income. Again, not perfection, just progress.
When we put all 3 benchmarks together, something interesting appears.
None of them require becoming rich overnight. None of them require winning the lottery. None of them require viral success. Instead, they reward patience, discipline, consistency, and time. The same principles that have created wealth for generations. Perhaps the most important rule is this: your assets should grow faster than your lifestyle. If your lifestyle grows faster than your investments, wealth becomes difficult.
2 people can earn exactly the same income, yet one retires comfortably while the other struggles. The difference often comes down to decisions made repeatedly over decades. One of the biggest financial mistakes people make is allowing every raise to disappear into lifestyle upgrades.
A bigger paycheck arrives, then comes a bigger car payment, a bigger house payment, more expensive habits, and suddenly nothing has changed.
The people who build wealth understand something different. When their income increases, part of that increase automatically goes toward investments. They enjoy life, but they also pay their future selves first. Every financial decision eventually leads to a fork in the road. Spend more or invest more. Neither choice feels dramatic in the moment, but over decades, the difference becomes enormous. Ryan finally understands this. His future won't be determined by one perfect investment or one lucky opportunity. It will be determined by hundreds of small decisions repeated consistently. Jennifer understands it too. As her investments continue growing, she realizes wealth isn't built through massive sacrifices. It's built through systems, habits, and consistency. Michael feels something he didn't feel before: relief. Because realistic benchmarks showed him that he wasn't failing. He was simply progressing at a normal pace. And that's enough. Susan enjoys the rewards of decades of patience. Not because every decision was perfect, not because she never made mistakes, but because she stayed committed long enough for compounding to do its work. And now all four people share something in common. They understand that wealth is not a destination. It's a process that unfolds over years and decades. The road to financial freedom is rarely straight. There will be setbacks, unexpected expenses, market crashes, economic uncertainty. But the direction matters more than temporary obstacles. For many people, the biggest transformation isn't financial. It's mental. The moment they stop asking, "Am I rich yet?" and start asking, "Am I making progress?" everything changes. So here's the question. How many years of income have you actually built? 1 year? 3 years? 6 years? Whatever your answer is, it provides valuable information about where you stand today. And now I'd love to hear from you. How old are you? And how close are you to these benchmarks? Are you ahead, behind, or right on track? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, this isn't a competition. The goal isn't to beat someone else. The goal is to build a future that gives you freedom, security, and peace of mind. Because the real winner isn't the person showing off online. The real winner is the person quietly building wealth year after year. The person creating options. The person creating freedom. The person creating stability.
And if there's one lesson to take away from this video, it's this. Start where you are, use what you have, stay consistent, and give yourself time. Because wealth isn't built in a year, it's built over a lifetime. And the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.